I finally decided that's it. I'm filming my Flosstube video. I'm not waiting till I get the next thing done. I'm just going to film it. So the plan is to show you my whips. Oh, and before I forget, I always forget to say the date. It is March, I want to say 26th, maybe 25th or 26th, 2018. I have not posted a Flosstube since, I believe, before Christmas. So there's a bit to show. There's been some busy periods, but I have been stitching quite a bit. Some of these whips I worked on so long ago, I can't remember exactly what my progress was, but it'll be fun to show anyways. My plan for this Flosstube is to show you my whips, and then I've got a bunch of finish videos, and then I've got a fun surprise at the end. So stay tuned. So the first one I want to show you is Home for Christmas. It is from Cross Stitcher magazine, October 2016. It's this sort of, I don't know, sampler style, I guess, deal going on. And what I worked on last time, evidently, since I'm kind of working my way down, is the snowflakes here. And I did start, because it's the same colors, I started to do a bit of the border as well, just for the fun of it. I really like how those turned out. They're not six-sided, but that's okay. We'll survive. I still haven't decided what I want to do about the words that go here and in the mailbox, so I've left that blank for now. There were a couple things I did differently on this one. I believe I picked a darker color for the edge of the house because it wasn't showing up against the fabric. This is a linen. I'm sorry, I don't have very... If you have questions, I can look it up, but I don't have it to hand right now. So if you really want to know, you know, the color account of something or any other details, just pop me a question underneath. Yeah, so that is my Home for Christmas. There we go. This was, I believe, a Stitch Mania start. Stitch Mania 2017. So it's getting close to halfway done, not quite. Next, I worked on my reindeer. So the plan is to do a whole set so that I have Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, Blitzen, plus the sleigh. But right now I'm just working on one at a time. So here he is. You'll see that bit of gold there and there. I've been ripping it out, which is why there's those spots that have no stitching. And the reason for that is I had started by stitching it with DMC and using a acrylic blending filament. And it was just a bit... I wasn't happy with it. I wanted it to look more gold. So I ended up buying some petite treasure braid that I'm going to put in there. Apart from that, this guy is done. The back stitching is in except where it interfered with the gold. So I'm really close to having him done, which is exciting. I will not cut him out until I've got the piece that goes here and here and maybe here done. Just because I gave, as you can see, the borders are fairly narrow, just to save to save fabric, because it is such a big project. These are eventually going to be stuffed in some way so that they can either stand or be hung on the wall. They're not going to be framed, so they didn't need a really large margin. But so it's close to a finish. A mini finish, I guess. I think for Stitch from Stash, I'll claim each of these individually. I'll just count the stitch count from top to bottom and side to side. But I do rather like them. I basically have to stitch 2 of each version that they provide. The reindeer. Next, Every time I pull this one out, it's Christmas Baubles by Satsuma Street. I finish one, and I believe I have 4 done now. And of course, I can't for the life of me remember which one was the new one. I did alter the colors slightly. It's still got this kind of retro teal red pink thing going. I just switched things up a little bit. And the other thing I've done is used a silver petite treasure braid to outline everything and to make the top, you know, where the hook would go. The plan is once they're all stitched, I will back them with felt and cut them out. I have learned the hard way that it's better to back them with felt and then cut out felt and paper together. So I'll just do a bit of a close-up. You can see all the sparkle there from the petite treasure braid. Sorry about the slight shake. I do film everything in hand because I don't really have another option. I bought a stand type of thing, but it was cheap and it actually wiggles more than my hand does. So there you go. Basically, I outline everything remotely outlineable in the petite treasure braid silver. So there you go. I think this one might be the new one. Could be wrong though. It's my Christmas Baubles. So I guess I only have 2 more to go on those. So that one's done. Then there's this one. So this is a Lanart kit. The designer is Maria von Scharenberg, and the kit is called Earth. I'm omitting this zodiac symbol, and it's going to be a birth announcement cross stitch for my niece, who is about 6 years old. So it needs to get done, and she's got a sibling on the way, so it really needs to get done. I'm participating in Stitch from Stash. So I know a lot of people know what this is, so bear with me. But if you don't know, it's a Facebook group run by Stephanie. I can't remember her last name. Her YouTube or her Flosstube line, tagline is Mrs. Oh So Crafty. And she runs a Stitch from Stash group on Facebook, and the basic premise is, excuse me, you commit to a budget every month, but you are permitted to expand your budget based on your finishes. And she has a chart in one of the files on the group. Excuse me, I need to clear my throat. She has a chart where you figure out how wide and how tall your piece is, and then you look at the chart and it tells you how much you can expand your budget by. And then of course, if you spend anything, that gets taken off your budget, and we hold each other accountable, and it's a lot of fun. And it's really encouraging me to look through my stash and get those finishes done that were close but not quite there. And so after this clip, you'll see, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 finish videos. But so here's this one. I haven't stitched a name in yet, so you can see it. I'm so close. I took it out, and I usually prefer to do my back stitching in 1 strand, but when I took it out, I realized, so here's an example of the 1 strand. I realized the 1 strand really just isn't showing up against the stitching. So I've been going over everything again. Also, there was some back stitching still missing. It's hard to see. I'll see if zooming in helps. There you go. There's back stitching all in here. It almost disappears even though it's double stranded, but it is there. I still have to double up this brown. I don't know. I might just double up some of the facial features though, because I seem to remember that the reason I went with 1 strand to begin with was that this didn't, it just looked too harsh with 2 strands. There's some silver here, and the kit came with I don't know. I feel like it's probably DMC and Krennic. It's good quality. But I lost a bunch of the silver, so I've run out. And I still need to finish outlining the moon. There, you can see it shimmering there. Luckily, I'm having a stitchy day tomorrow with my friend Rolanda. She's on Flosstube as Rolanda Grace. She also has an Etsy store if you're interested in any of her designs. She has some amazing full coverage designs, and she made them based on photos she's taken herself. So sometimes some of the full coverage designers out there, sometimes you just have to watch out and make sure that they actually have the copyright to the photos that they are converting into cross stitch. But the ones that she sells are her own photos that she took herself. She's quite a photographer. So if you're interested in full coverage, head over there. She's got some neat stuff. She sells a few other things on her Etsy site too. So yeah, here it is on the bottom. I love those red strawberries. They just add that pop of color. There's a bit more back stitching in these flowers. And this fabric, it's an even weave, but it's so nice and soft. So we'll see. Hopefully I can get this done before the due date of number 2. Now I have to figure out what I'm going to stitch for that one. But yeah. So I have been working hard to finish things, and I've been finding things in my stash and in my whip pile that were really close and just needed a bit of work to be finished. And so the next few clips you're going to see are finished videos. I don't have a lot of good editing software, so it might be a bit of an abrupt, I'll see what I can do to mitigate it. It might be a bit of an abrupt switch from video to video, but I'll see what I can do for you. And at the end of that, I've got a bit of an announcement. Fun stuff coming up at the end. There you go. All right, thanks for watching and enjoy the next few finish clips. Just a quick early morning video that I'll tag on to my Flosstube when I make it. It is December 20th, I think, maybe 21st. And I finished this for my Secret Santa at work. It's a Christiane Dahlbeck design from a book I bought off Amazon.de, a German Amazon site. And I changed the border. I changed the brown and white floss colors. I chose, let's see if I can get it in there. I chose to do the arms and what else? Oh, the arms and the mouth in a 2-strand back stitch. And the little, sorry, I'm doing this one-handed. There we go. The little snowflake button designs in 1 strand, as well as the scarf outline in 1 strand. And then instead of stitches, I did the eyes and the buttons with a Mill Hill, I think it's an antique matte black bead, seed bead. She's got these tiny little petty point stitch sections. Put it down so I can point. Sorry for the shadows. Like, for example, there, and some of them show up in the mushrooms as well. There we go. Oh, and I stitched this on a mushroom Lugana. Not sure of the count. It's 28 or 32 or something. I used Vanna's tutorials to help me make a flat fold, but it's not a fold, it's just a flat. So this is my first one, and as you can see, it's a little bit uneven along the top and along the sides there, but it's not too awful. So I'm still learning. Ideally, I would have put a little bit of ribbon around the edge or a rickrack, but I did this at 1 o'clock in the morning, So obviously the stores aren't open and I need to bring this with me to work today. His carroty nose consists of some long stitches and a cross stitch. There we go. Looks a little bit unbalanced. I'll kind of zhuzh those stitches a bit later. So all this is 2 pieces of mat board. The mat board that the stitching is on has a bit of quilt batting underneath it, and then not much, just a bit. I didn't pull this, I couldn't pull it too tight because the border, it would have pulled the border around the edge, the border of X's. So you can kind of see where I did pull it and then where I didn't. This back mat is approximately a 3/4 inch size larger all around, and I just covered it with a red fabric. And then I added this ribbon hanger, and then I glued some scrapbook paper on the back. And I just used the spray glue, and there's the date. The German designer and the person I'm giving it to speaks German. I actually know her from way back when I was a student and she worked in the school I was at, where I was learning German. So I figured I'd write the to and from in German. So it says Frohe Weihnachten, which is Merry Christmas, an Waldina von Dorn, Dezember 2017, and then the initials of my school, Baubles. While I'm at it, you need to see the hand notes, don't you? Rum, bowls, I have to buy those this morning. Duty, that's from yesterday, it was my duty day at school. Gifts, I'm not sure which gifts. And then I need to bring my car to the dealership by 7:45 tomorrow morning. Anyways, that's my flat fold. Oh, the paper, I should mention, this is an out of print, or out of a long gone retired Stampin' Up! Cardstock that I cut to fit. So I've been going to stitch at my friend Rolanda's house. She's on YouTube and Flosstube as Rolanda Grace. She has an Etsy store too. And so I finished stitching this there as much as I could, the beads, and then she's got a mat cutter, which she generously allows me to use, so I cut the mats with that. There we go. I'm so glad it's done, and I'm so surprised it's done on time. All right, back to regularly scheduled programming. It's a finish. I finished my model stitch for Rolanda Grace Designs. She's got a shop on Etsy, and she's planning on putting this one out for Christmas of 2018. It might be a Christmas in July thing. We'll see. Excuse my early morning voice, please. So because I was a little bit nuts, decided to stitch this 1/1 on, I think it's a 25 or 28 count black even weave. And so it's done in a sort of a chalkboard style-ish. So we used a 3033, DMC 3033 for the white. Give it sort of an off-white. And I wouldn't actually suggest stitching this 1/1 just because it makes stitching the snowflakes quite challenging. I ended up, if someone does decide to do this, or if they stitch it on Ada, I would suggest using a sharps needle to do the snowflakes. Everything else is fine. Close up like this, you can see where I traveled between the snowflakes on the back. There. But far away, and once it's on a board, I think it'll be fine. So I wanted the snowflakes to look 6-sided. I tried French knots for the tiny little flocks of snow, and I actually liked the look of the X's better. But of course, if you want, this design really lends itself to personalization. If you wanted to, there's nothing stopping you from putting French knots in instead, or changing the colors. I think the text would look beautiful in a selection of hand-dyed flosses or variegated flosses. It was a fun stitch. It stitched up relatively quickly. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, but if the white runs out, I'll drink the red. So the funny thing is, I really don't like the taste of wine myself, but I did enjoy stitching this up, I have to confess. Super simple. It was 4 colors of floss, and we used a petite treasure braid for the snowflakes. You could use a Kreinik braid, or match a filament with a blending filament with some floss, or just do it in straight floss too. That would work too. And I'd love to see this done in different colors on a lighter fabric. I don't know, there's just so many possibilities. I will say this though, when I went to wash it, I had the fright of my life. Here, I'll pull back so you can see the whole thing. Please excuse the cell phone shadow. So I went to wash it. I needed to wash off the Q-snap marks. And so I put it in the water with a bit of dish detergent. And oh my goodness, I just about had, like, my heart rate literally did speed up. I guess I didn't almost have a heart attack, but my heart rate did speed up. I could feel it. All the 3033 stitching went gray. And I'm talking like a deep 814-ish type, like distinct gray. And I thought, I mean, this is a commercially available fabric. It's not a hand-dyed. So I thought, oh my goodness, it's a bad lot. The dye is not fast, and it's leaching into all my light colors. And there's no way I was going to stitch this again, but because it's a model stitch, I was already busy feeling bad about it. And oh, I was freaking out. It was a distinct gray. And the thing is that when I looked at the back, the little bits of floss that kind of stick out and aren't next to the fabric because they're the ends or whatever, they were lighter looking. So I thought for sure it was a dye issue. Thankfully, as I ironed it and it dried, it went back. So it was just a matter of, you know how threads get a bit more saturated and darker when they're wet. And then my heart rate returned to normal. So if that happens to you and you're using a black fabric that is commercially available, don't panic. I think this would have been like a black Lugana from 123 Stitch or something like that. While I'm at it, you can see my hand notes. Fabric Patty. So I have a friend who wanted to go through my fabric stash. There might be some stuff she can use. And underneath that, it's hard to read. It says Twisters PD. Twisters is a local restaurant. PD is professional development. We had a meeting there. The red stuff, I can't even remember what it said. It's that washed off. But there you go. My life on my hand. Anyways, I had a ton of fun stitching this. And when Rolanda puts it up for sale, honestly, go grab it. It's a fun stitch. It's a fairly quick stitch. It's the kind of thing where you kind of get a lot of bang for your buck. Like, it looks really impressive for not being a super complicated, like, it's not like it's a full coverage design, or there are no fractionals at all, which is why I was able to do it 1/1. The only time you do anything slightly not straight cross stitch is when you're doing the straight lines in the snowflakes. So yeah, I'm excited to see what other people do with this and how they personalize it and make it their own. And yeah. All right. So after this clip, I have my fun announcement. So stay tuned. Dun, 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 dun. Well, it's time to record another finish video. or video clip rather. So it's March 20th, around there, and I have to say Stitch from Stash is working so far. I finally got this guy done. I started it I don't know how many years ago. It was a kit. It's called Countdown to Christmas, and if I just stretch and yeah, it's a dimensions kit. I've seen a couple other Flosstubers stitching it. I stitched it pretty much according to the instructions, with one notable exception, which you'll see in a bit. So please excuse the cell phone shadow that shows up. I stitched it with the kit threads and the kit fabric, which is an Ada. And those of you who have done this one, you'll know that border is quite a bear to stitch. This is definitely one where when I focus, for example, on the back stitching, didn't always make me happy, but when I back off, it really works. So there was a fair bit of back stitching, not too crazy, but a fair bit. And also some French knots. And then the bottom half is where you have your advent calendar. So these are charted to be little bows that you tie with thread and then stitch on, and then your ornaments you would hang one every day till Christmas. And I just couldn't see myself doing that and making it look somewhat uniform. So I searched and I searched, and I finally found these tiny little buttons. I believe I found them at Michael's. They're just, there's my finger for comparison. Just tiny little buttons. And I just stitched those on, and the idea is that the ornaments will hang on a loop there. And I just kind of went through the pack and tried to make an assorted pattern. And sorry, I can't really show it to you at once. I film with my camera handheld, but there's the bottom where it says Santa's Workshop. This was quite a big one. It gave me a decent credit in Stitch from Stash. I don't remember now. But the other part that I just finished, which I claimed separately because it's a separate chart in the kit, and it kind of doubles up, right? Because I've got the numbers stitched, and then the ornaments will hang over those numbers. So the ornaments, there's 25 of them, obviously. And there they are. I think oh yeah, this one. 25 ornaments. And they were fun to stitch. You get this perforated plastic to stitch them on. Kind of see there. Some of them had quite a few French knots. I'll see if I can find a good one for that. Yeah, the angel had quite a few, and then the Christmas tree as well. I plan to use like an Aleene's tacky glue or something similar to put in a hanging loop on the back of each of them, and then I'll sorry, there we go. And then I think I'll try to cover the backs with felt, maybe just all the white felt, or maybe an off-white to match the fabric of the main piece. I don't know. So this will become a wall hanging. No back shame. My backs aren't awful. They're definitely not perfect. And now that I've started stitching with a Q-snap over the last year or two, they're far from perfect because you can jump a lot farther without worrying. I would have stitched most of this guy in hand. I can't find it. It's hard to do that now, but yeah, so there's my finish. Kind of excited. These guys earned me $10 from Stitch from Stash, I believe. So that's a nice boost, which is good because a friend is lending me one of the Celtic ladies, and if I kit her up, that'll cost me some money. But yeah, there's my next finish. Thanks. Back to regular programming. Hello all, I believe this is my 4th finish video. So this is Soda Stitch's Little Red Riding Hood. I've already sold the chart on Stitch from Stash, so that's already been sent off to someone in Nova Scotia, I believe. But I stitched this in all the called for DMC threads. I stitched it on a Rolanda Snyder fabric. It's an even weave, and my camera really doesn't pick up green well at all. I don't know if I go closer if it will sort of get the hue. It's sort of, if you imagine a pastel lime color, that's what this fabric is. I think it was just one very small alteration, and that is that these clouds, I filled them in with white cross stitches and then put the back stitching in as charted. On the chart, it's just the back stitching, but it irked me that the green fabric showed through, and so the clouds looked green. So that was my reasoning behind that one. This was my first Soda Stitch. It was a Stitch Mania 2017 start, and I loved it. It was so much fun. I have a few more charts that I'd like to start at some point. This mushroom motif here was the last one I stitched. I saved that one for last. It was so cute and fun and quick to stitch. I find that as I'm moving the camera around to show you, I'm thinking, oh no, I'm going to see where I missed a stitch. There is a bit of back stitch, but it didn't take as long, wasn't difficult. Soda Stitch is a Korean company, and I find that designers from different countries, there's just a different sensibility about it that you just don't find in North American designers, and it was fun to experience that difference. So there's Little Red Riding Hood. My plan for this is to sort of, I'm going to do a Priscilla and Chelsea type finish on it. But we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. I think between them and Vonna the Twisted Stitcher, there are so many really good finishing tutorials out there with different styles, and so you can kind of figure out what suits your personality best and go with it. But yeah, this was a Stitch from Stash finish. I don't think I would have kind of gone in for the whole finish if it hadn't been for Stitch from Stash. See if I can get it to focus. There we go. The details in this are just incredible. It's not a very large piece. If I remember correctly, it's just barely over 100 stitches by 100 stitches. But you've got a flower bouquet and the little cabin by a stream with a little bridge, some delicious chocolate chip cookies, the bed that the grandma sits in or sleeps in, and the grandma, of course, a couple of trees, some flowers and a bird and some cherries. They just look mouth-watering. The picnic basket, the hunter, and of course Little Red Riding Hood and the wolf. Little bow in the corner. It's cute, but it's a different kind of cute, and I really like it. My plan is to put this up at school, display it at work. All right. Unless I manage to finish something else before I stitch this series of videos together and post them, you've now reached almost the end of the video, and I've got some fun news, so stay tuned for another couple minutes. Thanks for watching. See you soon. I know I said that I was done with showing you my work and I was going to tell you what's coming next, but then yesterday I had a stitchy day with my friend Rolanda. She came over for the day. She brought her mat cutter, so I was able to cut foam and things. So I have 3 finishes to show you. This one's my own design. It's called Then Sings My Soul. There's a Karen water lilies? Water something? The one that you stitch with one thread because it's quite thick. Then Sings My Soul. And what I did was I cut the foam core, and then pinned it and then laced it and then took out the pins. Lacing, it's one of those things I'm always scared to do, and then, I mean, really, we stitch X's all the time. Thousands of them. This is not that complex. And it is nice for being able to tighten things incrementally. So that's Then Sings My Soul. Once I can get the document how I want it to be, I will post this for sale in my Etsy shop, which currently I don't believe has anything in it. But I really wanted to do something that showcased this awesome, like, I mean, look at that. Look at the variegation in there. That was just fun. It was a ton of fun to stitch. All right, and my next finish, which is also, sorry for the blank screen, it's also my own design. I finished it yesterday. This is It Is Well, one of my all-time favorite hymns, especially given the story behind it. This one was stitched on a blue even weave, Then Sings My Soul. It Is Well is stitched on a white, and I am, I think it's a, it must be an even weave. It doesn't look slubby, so it's not a linen. This is the same type of floss, that variegated floss, obviously in a different colorway. Again, that the variation of color just really reminded me of ocean, those deep ocean blues and teals. So that's why I chose that. I just mounted it, the center portion here, I mounted on a mat board that I had padded with a bit of quilting batting. I padded the foam core with batting as well. And then laced it on the back, although you can't see that now. And then I cut another mat board that was 3/4 of an inch larger all around. So 1.5 inches longer and 1.5 inches wider than the stitched portion. I'm still learning to lace, so this border isn't, if I hadn't stitched that border, you might not be able to tell. It's not entirely straight. It's close though. And I sprayed a bit of spray adhesive on this backing mat and laid down some fabric. It's a Moda, I'm not sure which one. And then I had this rope trim that I bought from a fabric store and just glued that all around. So on the back, oh, maybe we can see what the fabric is. I know it's upside down. It says, "In this life, don't just survive." Turn it around so I can read it. Don't just survive, choose to, I think it says thrive, but yeah, thrive. I don't know if that helps you if you're looking for similar. Yeah. So I just glued this down. This rope trim has this lip on it. And I haven't finished the back because I just need this to be able to take a picture for Etsy. I do have to figure out, I have it charted, but I do have to figure out how to set the chart up in a document that I'm happy with so that I can sell it. Yeah. I'll let you guys know when that happens. And my third and final finish is this one. This one I took, these two, I keep thinking of what to say after the fact. These two I based on Vana's tutorials, heavily modified, I should say. If you follow her tutorials exactly, you'll get a much neater, more professional looking finish. And of course, all her backs are beautifully done as well. But for my purposes, this was what I needed to happen. This is a Soda Stitch Little Red Riding Hood. I stitched it on a fabric hand dyed by Rolanda Snyder. You can get her fabrics on, is it Canadians Only Stash Unload where she sells? I'm not sure. I stitched it all, I've told you before in this episode, I stitched it all basically according to the chart, except that where the clouds are, I filled those in. Oh, hand notes. You can hardly see them. mason jars, steamer. I'm going to a friend's house and that's what I need to bring. And then a measurement is on top of that, very pale, from when I was cutting board and foam core yesterday. Anyways, this section is mounted on foam core. Foam core that I covered with quilt batting. And I'll see if I can take it off with one hand. Yay. Okay, so this is more of a Priscilla and Chelsea type finish. I pinned the edges first to the foam core, and then I did the lacing, and then I took the pins out. Once that was done, I added this ribbon. It's a ribbon from Stampin' Up, and I would be very surprised if they still have this color. My Stampin' Up supplies are old. Old. And I also bought these tiny little, I think they're 1/4 inch rare earth magnets. I got them at Michael's. They do my Michael's normally has another size up. It might be, I want to say 1/2 inch maybe, but they were all out. And I used the E6000 glue to glue it down. Something I learned after the fact, and which I would have known if I'd read the instructions, was that I should have dabbed the glue on the foam core, dabbed the glue on the magnet, waited a couple minutes, and then put the two together. Apparently it bonds better. So in the beginning, I had some problems with, I'd put this up on the metal backing board, and then I'd pull it away and the magnets would stay on the metal backing board, and that happened twice before I realized that I needed to let this cure well before I did that. This metal board is a galvanized steel board from Michael's. It's very thin. And all I did was I took some white paint and loosely painted the front. It does have a rope that goes through those holes for hanging. And then my plan is to hang this at work. I'm a teacher, so this hangs quite nicely. The 4 magnets hold it well. And my plan is, as I finish other soda stitches, or maybe other things too, I can have a bit of a rotating display. I feel like it's easy for schools to be very institutionalized looking, and when you can add little touches that make it feel homier. I mean, kids spend a lot of time in there, and we expect them to do their best and try hard, and I think we owe it to them to provide a comfortable environment. And that would be visually as well as physically. So I teach younger kids, so I'm hoping they'll enjoy it. It'll be something different at any rate. So those are my 3 final finishes, my 3 FFOs. Okay, if I don't think of anything else, the next clip you see will be the fun news clip. Here's the fun announcement part, guys. So I thought it was time to do a giveaway just as a thank you to my subscribers. So I'll talk a little bit about what's involved, and then how to enter, and what the deadlines are. So I have a bunch of things I've collected, and I'm not going to list them all. It'll be sort of a surprise grab bag for whoever wins. In addition, I will be providing a $30 gift certificate. That's the equivalent of $30 Canadian in whatever your preferred currency is. And I'll make it to whichever online shop is most convenient for you. So, for example, if you live in the States, I'll send you the equivalent of a Canadian $30 amount to maybe 123 Stitch It Central, whichever online shop you want. We can communicate about that. And then I've got some odds and ends. And then the other one, the other part of this prize, there's only one prize, is my friend Rolanda has an Etsy shop, and she's also a photographer. And she has converted a bunch of her amazing photography, you can see 4 of them there, into full coverage charts. I've started one, but of course I'm not anywhere near finishing yet because, you know, full coverage. But she has these amazing photos. You don't have to worry about them being copyrighted. They are her own works. They're copyrighted to her. And she also has some other charts, and some other items, for example, these, here we go, these stitched quilt blocks. But what the prize is for one of her full coverage designs. If you don't stitch full coverage, this might be a really neat opportunity to purchase something as a gift for someone else that you know and would like to express appreciation for. So there's a lot of nature ones. There's a skyline of Winnipeg. We've got our Riel Bridge there and the Canadian Museum of Human Rights. And I believe that would be the Red River. It might be the Assiniboine though. There's the cards. A few different, really neat camera, picture, photo. I've started this one. I'm just starting to get into the oranges and pinks. Yeah. So, so if you win the prize, you'll just let me know, number 1, which store you'd like your gift certificate for. You'll let me know which one of Rolanda's full coverage designs you'd like, and I'll need your address so that I can ship you the bag of goodies. I will set a deadline. Today is March 28th, so let's make it a month from now, April 28th my time, and I am in Manitoba, Canada. I think that's Central Standard. Anyways, I'm in Manitoba, Canada by midnight, April 28th. So then I will post the winner on April 29th, or as close to that as I can. I won't wait to make an entire Flosstube to announce the winner. I'll just make a quick clip. And you need to be 18 or older, or have the permission of your parents, because you will need to share your address with me. Your mailing address, that is. And to enter, first of all, please don't use the word giveaway or free or something like that in your comment. Some people wonder why. It's just because there are people who run around YouTube looking for contests to enter, and they don't really care about the actual prizes. And I'd like this to be won by someone who enjoys stitching. Just comment below and tell me tell me what you like. Tell me something that's making you happy today. A little bit of extra positivity never hurts. Tell me something that's making you happy today. So if I see the words, what's making me happy today is, in your, and I'm just going to write that down. What's making me happy today is, what's making me happy today is, yeah. So write that in the comments and finish the sentence, and then I will consider that your entry into the contest. So good luck to everyone, and I'm really excited to see how this turns out. Thanks, and talk to you in Flosstube number 21.